everybody. I don't really expect anybody to join this live stream. It's just the way it works, unfortunately. However, I do ask that if any of this resonates with you, you take a second or two to share it. And that's all it really takes is a second or two. Not so sure how many people caught wind of this story. I want to send a shout out to Minutes of Horror's channel because he's really been doing a good job covering this, and it's important as far as I'm concerned, especially if you look at the weather right now. Right, it's humid near you. Is the weather a little bit off for summer? Does it seem a little more rainy? Does it seem a little bit more overcast? Do the clouds seem a little bit more white and fluffy? And a lot more of them? If so, you should watch this video. Go ahead, turn the chat on. Appreciate you guys being here. Listen, this is a really serious issue because what I think we're going to see come August and early September. What's up, Nukima? Cindy, welcome, guys. Tab, I already said what's up to you in the previous stream. My hiccups got in the way, but let us go through this. Now, I want to obviously start off with a fact check because we're just a bunch of crazy nut job conspiracy theorists that know nothing, and we need to rely on the mainstream media. Aaron, good to see you. Appreciate you being here. We need to rely on the mainstream media to tell us what is and what isn't. And soon that'll be by law. Cuts, my brother. Been a while. The claim, weather map images show phenomenon that caused giant waves in southern Africa after eclipse. Throwing the eclipse in it is kind of muddying the waters. It has nothing to do with the eclipse, but they're brilliant at what they do, right? They want to muddy the waters the best that they can. What better way to make two ends meet that shouldn't be meeting? An April 13th Facebook video show images of weather maps with a large dark shape that grows larger and moves north towards southwestern Africa. Did anyone hear about this weird anomaly that happened the day after the eclipse and CERN starting up again? Now, not to say that those shouldn't be taken into account. That's just not what I'm covering right now. I haven't done enough research to even speak anything on those matters, though not saying there isn't nothing there, but that's not... You don't need to be a crazy conspiracy theorist to see that there is something going on with the official radar and weather maps from NOAA and the like, all the oceanic all they show, right? The official records show that there's some type of anomaly, is what they're saying. This is a couple of months in the making. Now, what this anomaly is, apparently, are huge waves. Well, let me read on. Did anyone hear about this weird anomaly that happened the day after the eclipse and CERN starting up again? Reads the caption. It produced huge waves that seemed to originate from the aurora in Antarctica. Well, we can pinpoint it better than that, and we can say it really stemmed from Beauvais Island. No wind, but massive waves. That's funny, right? That's funny. How do you get massive waves with no wind? Well, I think we'll discover exactly how that happens because Harvard recently, unbeknownst to most of everybody, had a pretty significant finding, and I think this plays a massive role with what's going on right now. And then some. There's going to be a few videos in the making. There's no possible way I'll be able to cover all this information in just one live stream. But hopefully, this will stay up, and hopefully you guys will join me for the next one. Another video making a similar claim on Facebook was deleted after it was shared 3,500 times in 3 days. What was it? Tell me more. Our rating, false. USA Today is here to tell you that don't pay no attention to that shit because It's all BS. The dark shape on the map did not depict a real phenomenon. According to the company that produced the maps, you mean the North Oceanic? What is it? NOAA? No, National Oceanic National Oceanographic Association or a line. Somebody fill me in. But anyways, Noah and who was the other one? At Harvard were involved. There was a little bit from MIT. I got some of their work up that we'll go over. But pay no mind to that stuff. The North Ocean. Man, do not tell me in the chat. If I finish this live stream without saying what Noah is on my own, I fail. All right, so it showed up on the weather maps as a result of a model error. A model error, right? So the data that is this is what they're saying. And this is how their maps, that those wonderful illustrations that you're able to look at, right? And that shows the modeling of these weather systems. That's all done by data. And what they're saying here is somehow this data had to have been corrupted in order to get a model error. CERN, which has nothing to do with creating waves or weather, resumed operations a month before the eclipse and weather map error. Now, CERN does seem like an unlikely component to this story. However, when you're dealing with this specific location where these anomalies seem to be stemming from, there is what is known as a gravitational anomaly, something that our tax dollars are being shoved aside into these black budget projects to fund, along with Norway and New Zealand, I believe, and some other countries, which, trust me, we will get to all of it. Not necessarily in this video, but this is pretty substantial. What's, from my take at least, and I'm only going to keep digging, so I'll keep you posted. From my take at least, it seems like they are definitely modifying the weather and not only doing the typical geoengineering tactics with the chemtrails and the like, but they have stumbled across something that seemed obvious, but there had been no scientific literature, evidence supporting peer-reviewed paper, anything. There was nothing. It just dawned on somebody apparently someday, and they were like, I wonder if water evaporation is strictly through thermostatic phenomena, or could it potentially be through photons as well, through light? Is it just heat that evaporates water? Or can the act of photons hitting H2O molecules break them up in such a way to release the water into the air? Well, let's find out. The anomaly wasn't real, right? It's a model error. That's what we keep hearing. But how come they haven't corrected this data stream? Because, again, that's how they create these wonderful images, these continuous animations that show the accurate depiction of our weather and such, and that's how they get their predictions down to the pinpoint accuracy. I mean, we could all say, like, oh, they can never predict whether it's raining or not, but they really do a pretty good job on predicting whether or not, we're going to have a front and this and that, because you can see it. We have artificial intelligent models that are able to predict these different types of very complex models combining with each other and producing raw data that the system itself is able to then process and show these intricate models of. So, for an anomaly, appropriately titled, right, out of nowhere, these giant waves start occurring. Now, some of you have probably seen what happens when you drop some ice cubes in boiling water, or vice versa, right? Like when you see, take a glass and watch the just immense reaction between cold and hot currents, right? They're flowing around each other. You can clearly see them in the glass. Now that's a glass. You expand that glass to the ocean, and you're going to have some major waves. Major waves. So what could cause that type of toroidal effects and those types of waves? And oh no, it's anomaly. Nothing, right? Nothing. Pay no mind to it. Gloss over. Nothing happened. It's just our data was messed up. Again, that would be fine if it happened one time. But this is something that we keep seeing over and over, and it keeps stemming from one specific location. And that's Bouvet Island. Go ahead and play this real quick.
Hey, it's Glamham. Here's everything we know about the blob so far.
At first, we thought the strange anomaly appeared only on April the 10th, 2024. Turns out it was also present on February the 22nd and March the 27th. This is NASA's Earth data site, and for the heck of it, I put in April 9th to the 13th, and on the 10th, we do...
I want to try to find a better quality image of this or video. No. Not doing all that.
Hey, it's Glamham. Here's everything we know about the blob so far.
At first, we thought the strange blob anomaly appeared only on April the 10th, 2024. Turns out it was also present on February the 22nd and March the 27th. This is NASA's Earth data site, and for the heck of it, I put in April 9th to the 13th, and on the 10th, we do see, well, is it a blob?
Ventusky.com came out and said this was a model error, a glitch. The majority of people, from what I can tell in the comments, are not believing this.
Maybe because there was a radar outage containing important weather information.
I certainly don't think there was waves. We know this is a major shipping route. Somebody would have caught some big waves on a cell phone camera. I did a video on the island that happens to be down here. It's so remote that if you search into it on Google Earth, it doesn't have a name. The only way you can have its name appear is if you put Bouvet Island into the search. I had somebody write to me who worked at Apple Maps, and they said that that is not normal. That if the name doesn't appear on the island, it's because someone designed it that way. If I have to make a guess what I think it is, not waves, maybe nothing even visible. Maybe some sort of a force field, a frequency, cloaking device. I've had many people write to me saying the weather has been off the charts in the Cape Town area of South Africa. We've also had the unprecedented storm in Dubai. Some of you believe these in...
Not to mention the hurricane that jumped to a Category 5 like that. Before hurricane season even begins. And the reason, guys, look around you. Look at the skies. They're not blinding out the sun. They're not keeping these chemtrails from frying. They're making sure that we are in a microwave, first off. Second, they're doing shit like microwaving the oceans and producing an immense amount of evaporation, not just by heat. This is what's important, because as I'm going to show you, this is something that is occurring, and you have to ask yourself, why? Like always, why? What are they doing? And I think it's rather obvious. For anybody that's been paying attention for quite some time, they've told us, right? Climate change lockdowns. This is the mechanism of control. They're going to say, oh, you're using too many carbon credits. Your carbon footprint is too much. They've already put in smart meter. This is something that has been decades in the making. They're at the end of it now. Now it's time to push the button and time to turn it up to 11 and allow all of the chaos and catastrophe to commence. And then they will be sitting by with the answers and the judgment. Let's get into some of the nitty-gritty, right? Geomagnetic storm affected the quality of the sea level anomaly product. Now, this is dealing. It's funny trying to see all of the different well-respected outlets or scientific outlets trying to put a lid on this, because some of them contradict themselves, and we have to wonder, well, who's really telling the truth here? And I dare say no one is. I'll leave you to judge for yourself when we get through all the information, and you can make up your own mind. But I think it's important to have that information and not just say fact check false or you're a bunch of idiots and this is what's really happening. Present it all, right? They'll never do that. What's up, Mitz? Good to see you. The recent geomagnetic storm, and this is important as well because there's a lot dealing with this island, this Beauvais Island. And the CIA just recently did an update on their website dealing with this specific island. And when you start looking at the research that was being conducted, it has to do with gravity and geomagnetism. And there seems to be anomalies there where they're able to witness or do things or what have you that aren't able to be achieved elsewhere on Earth. And this is evident in the material itself, which I absolutely will leave as much information as you guys want. So what is it? Before I keep going, I want to make sure we're clear about what's happening here. There was this anomaly. There's this gigantic chunk of the ocean that all of a sudden started experiencing massive waves. Waves that would sink your biggest ships, your cargo ships, wouldn't stand a chance against what was reportedly, according to the data coming in by countless buoys and oceanic stations across all of that land that have up until that point provided nothing but correct data. But all of a sudden, all of these things started malfunctioning in tandem, causing it to produce this widespread anomaly. It's just bullshit. It's straight bullshit. And if anybody that has half a mind on them would notice it just as such, but they count on nobody thinking or looking into anything, so they're able to pass this off. But it's rather interesting once you go digging. The recent geomagnetic storms caused temporary degradation of the near real-time sea surface height products. The wave height and wind speed products had little, if any, impacts. Well, then what did? This is why they're calling it an anomaly, by the way, right? Because, well, the wind speed doesn't add up. There's no other ocean things that we could think of that would cause these types of waves. There's no way down when we're looking at the fault lines and things like that. There's not been any sudden shifts that could correlate. So it's an anomaly for the fact that they don't know why it occurred, but that's not to say it didn't occur. So we have to ask what caused it. And I'm going to tell you exactly what caused it. And if you've seen the thumbnail, this includes the Griddle Daily Sea Level Anomaly product. Because the product can contain up to 14 days of data inputs in the optimal interpolation process, the current product may include anomalous satellite passes that were not removed during quality control tests. Okay, so that would have been the first one. If that were to be the case, if that's what you're passing it off as, there's no way, absolutely no way it would happen a second time. Or a third. Or a fourth. It keeps happening. It keeps showing up. This anomaly BS excuse couldn't be further from the truth, because the brightest people are responsible for adjusting these models, and they've been perfect, not perfect, but damn good without anomalous data seeping in. And then all of a sudden, oh, where'd this come from? No, they have to cover for what's really happening, because they cannot possibly tell the masses that they are using this technology to evaporate water in mass. Now, this is something that was, believe it or not, recently discovered, and this is the photomolecular effect. And this is visible light interaction with air-water interface. What this essentially means is the ability of light, and not heat, but light itself, to evaporate water, has been recently discovered to be extremely effective. And when you have trillion-watt lasers that are already designed to heat up the water, all you have to do is change the frequency a little bit to produce more light and heat, right? If you have two of them beaming on the same thing, well, then you got a steam machine. And this is what this island is doing, among many other things. And those other things are dealing with gravity. And we'll talk about that later down the road. But right now, what's important to understand is they are taking that hurricane that just happened, that instant 5-category hurricane, that stemmed right in that section, that key section of where this is happening. Now, this is anybody dealing in weather in any way knows that this was a freak hurricane. How did it happen? What happened? And why did it happen in that very key area that is right off Beauvais Island, with this anomaly occurring? This anomaly is them using photonic lasers, beaming them off the side of a cliff and satellite to evaporate unbelievable amounts of water. Unbelievable amounts. This hurricane season, and even before that, you're going to places that aren't used to seeing tornadoes, dry, arid areas, like probably more, I would say, just out, it's hard to say exactly, but I would imagine, so you got like Arizona, right? If anybody can think of a more arid spot that's east of Arizona, let me know, because that's probably where a lot of, like Tornado Alley is probably going to have a hell of a year this year. But New York City, I think will take 2 direct hits. And now this is just a guess. It's a guess when I say 2, but I promise you at least 1. And I'm not talking small hurricanes, guys. What they're doing, I followed geoengineering and this. I've done my best to really get the best grasp I possibly can. It's not easy, right? I mean, I'm sure that I don't, and I don't pretend to. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything about it, but from what I've seen and what I understand, this anomaly in the ocean is an anomaly at all. They are just filling the atmosphere with water. And when you see the reason that they've been using like silver particulates, yeah, absolutely, Aaron, absolutely. Well, I mean that's half of the reason they do it is for the emotions that they're sucking in. Their sustenance. Now, I don't want to just run through some scientific articles. I want to find something that I can really kind of talk about it a little bit. And MIT, these were some of the ones that really broke this and started under. This blows my mind that this wasn't discovered up until recently, and from all accounts, it really wasn't. And now, whether the government knew about it and kept it under wraps, sure, we don't know. I mean, they know things well in advance of everything else, but the fact that even our brightest institutions weren't really aware that this was an effect. We always assumed that it was a thermal effect that allowed water to evaporate. And that's what we're talking about right now, is water evaporating. As simple as that sounds, the detriment that will soon follow is worth this live stream plus 3 more. How light can vaporize water without the need for heat. Surprising photomolecular effect discovered by MIT researchers could affect calculations of climate change and may lead to improved desalination in drying processes. Or they could use it nefariously and make people start believing in climate change because they're seeing weather that they have never seen before, and that can easily be accomplished by just producing massive plumes of steam that work their way up on the west side of Africa, coming through the exact same path that last hurricane just made, up into the eastern side of the United States. And I think they're going to be able to utilize this come the actual hurricane season to slam New York City, New Jersey, North Carolina with massive hurricanes that will do an insane amount of damage. And they will be able to then use those stories, because we know how the media likes to latch onto those, because everybody loves a good horror story, right? And when they see the tops blowing off of buildings, they just buckle in and just can't stop watching. And then once they're stuck watching, they'll be sure to follow it up with the message, climate change. And we need to stop this. And everybody will be on board because they don't want to see people get mangled and maimed. They're going to be like, oh my God, this is real. Climate change is real. But no. The bastards behind the levers of massive technological progress used in the wrong direction is what is really occurring. It's the most fundamental of processes, the evaporation of water from the surfaces of oceans and lakes, the burning off of fog in the morning sun, and the drying of briny ponds that leave solid salt behind. Evaporation is all around us, and humans have been observing it and making use of it for as long as we have existed. And yet, it turns out we've been missing a major part of the picture all along. In a series of painstakingly precise experiments, a team of researchers at MIT have demonstrated that heat isn't alone in causing water to evaporate. Light striking the water surface, where air and water meet, can break water molecules away and float them into the air, causing evaporation in the absence of any source of heat. But what if you have a massive source of heat? And what if you have a mechanism that just uses photons, such as a high-powered trillion-watt laser stationed on a satellite or two, beaming down on that same area? Well, then you have both. You have heat and you have optics. And you can only imagine the amount. You can double the amount of steam, of evaporation. And also, what else we will learn about Beauvais Island and the gravitational anomalies and everything else. This is key, guys. This is, when I first, again, Minutes of Horror, props to you, brother. When I first started looking at this stuff, I was like, yeah, this is interesting, but, I'm not so sure what's all here. And then I started doing what I do and started taking a deep dive. And holy shit. Holy shit. And everything I don't speak lightly on things. For those that have followed me, for those that have been with me for a while, if I'm speaking on a topic, it's because, one, I'm passionate about it, and I don't become passionate about it unless I see something that most people aren't seeing, and that causes me this desire to share, to try to get it out there, to try to wake people up to something that they may not have really witnessed yet. The second part is a calling. We'll leave it at that. The astonishing new discovery could have a wide range of significant implications. Yes, it could. It could help explain mysterious measurements over the years of how sunlight affects clouds, and therefore affect calculations of the effect of climate change on cloud cover and precipitation. That's pretty important in and of itself, because we know that they've been chemtrailing and putting sulfur dioxides and things like that into the air, and silver ions, like iodized silver. I'd have to get the exact technical term because I don't know. But some type of silver that's been broken down. I think it's iodized silver, something like that. Silver, there's another name for it. But different things that they've been spraying into the air to try to mitigate, right? Now, I don't think for 1 second that they weren't already aware of what it is that they're now sharing with us, because they know things 50 years in advance before we know them, right? They got the best of the best. They make sure that they do, and they're going to work on it. So the fact that it's being released, and they got Harvard releasing this fact, they're like, oh, by the way, we just discovered, leads me to believe that probably the government, the military at least, DARPA and such, Lockheed Martin and things like that, they already had a pretty good idea, but they just didn't have the scaling to really do this in mass. And then they do. And then once they do, you start seeing these types of massive anomalies, guys. When we're talking about 80-foot waves out of nowhere, when it should be like maybe 15. right? That's why they chalk it up. They're like, no, clearly this is an anomaly. Yes, it's an anomaly, but why? And then they start saying like the data's corrupted. Bullshit. Because if your data's corrupted, you fix it. This thing doesn't occur over and over and over. That's why they haven't covered it over and over and over. But they have, right? It's just not the mainstream media that has. But there are different outlets that have covered all of these different anomalies when they were occurring. Now, guys, I know I'm kind of all over the place here. I want to ground it every once in a while and bring it back to what it is that I'm talking about, because it will go off in different directions. But it is key to understand that there is this island that is so remote. It is the remotest island out there right now. More remote than Hawaii. And the things that are coming out of it, these anomalies, right? There's these cone type, like radar, like frequency expanding. And in this general vicinity, there's this anomaly that's occurring, and these major waves are occurring. What it really looks like to me, knowing that, and I'll bring all of this together, about Bove Island and what it is that they're researching and why this is all tied in together and what they're really doing. Like I said, it's going to take a few videos. Hopefully you're with me right now. Are you guys with me? Who's with me? Do you understand? Like, if there's any questions whatsoever before I keep moving forward, please jump in and be like, hey, hold up, Dustin. Hold up. What are you talking about this, right? Like, I encourage you to do that. If I don't know, I will certainly go looking. But for what I've been talking about so far, I feel confident enough to speak on, so I probably can answer your questions dealing with such, hopefully. This shit is just absolutely insane. Wait till we start getting into the gravity stuff, guys. And I find it interesting that the CIA just recently but they changed like 9 days ago on their website all about Bove Island and did a complete update. All right, Tab, what it is. Ask me. I'm more than happy to answer. Actually, I encourage you at this point to think about the things that I've said and to play devil's advocate, to play straw man, to do whatever it is, and try to hold me at my faults. Because that's how we learn, right? That's how we get through topics that are conspiracy theories. Because the media gets a hold of this stuff, and it's so easy for them to just do what they did, right? And chalk it up to anomalous data. Because not too many people actually take the time and go digging and finding out what's really, find out what's really going on. And guys, I have yet to find a better, perfect example of, other than Maui, let's not forget Maui, other than Maui, a perfect example of them modifying the weather. Now, Maui's tough because even though there are some pretty good videos of like laser beams frying shit, blue things not being touched in an area where everything, including metal, has been eviscerated and turned to ash. Somehow a blue t-shirt survives, blue umbrellas survive. Right? And well, that makes sense considering the wavelength, right? That's what knowing and not knowing can change the outlook. Because if you understand, the wavelengths and how things can burn using lasers and things like that, then you understand what wavelength they're using and why that makes sense. But if you don't know that, then it's easy for the media to just say that's absolute nonsense. Because they don't know. So they're like, oh, well, the media, the people I trust say It's nonsense, therefore it must be. As opposed to taking the time that it takes, and it does take time, to actually go looking and finding out one way or the other, right? I always try to be as unbiased and neutral as I possibly can be. And that's kind of easy now. It wasn't so easy early on, 15 years ago when I started my channels. But I've learned how to do that as I progressed and gotten better at presenting information and doing it in a non-biased way. I know the media is usually lying, but I don't want to set out to prove them wrong. All I set out to do is find facts on both ends. One to support them, one to prove them wrong, right? I have no dog in the fight. Maybe the media is telling the truth. Maybe they're lying. Turns out they're almost always lying, but I don't let that affect me. You can't. Because once in a while, they're actually telling the truth. When it serves, you never know when that is, right? So you just have to get all the information you can, cross-reference it amongst each other, see what holds, what doesn't, what people can actually do scientific experiments to hold up or disprove. All of it, right? You got to keep an open mind. You just have to. You can't adopt yourself to a team. Be like, oh, I'm on team right, I'm on team left. This is what they believe. This is what they're saying. And then, well, you have access to the truth. But only once you defeat that mindset will you ever come close. Which, if you're following me, I know you guys already have. I keep going to use my mouse because I have my phone resting on the back of my laptop. So, I'm looking at my laptop screen. So I keep trying to use my mouse, and I'm not getting anywhere. I don't know why I felt like sharing that. Just thought that it would. Scientists. This is back in 2018. I don't know how I missed this one, but I guess there wasn't really much of a reason to look into it. Scientists turn X-ray lasers into world's fastest water heater. Now, there's also some stuff I'm going to be showing you in the future video, probably the next video, dealing with these extremely powerful X-ray lasers and where they're positioned. And how there just so happened to be a contract to send them fuckers to outer space. Guys, I'm going to wrap this up right now. I don't want to keep rambling on. I think I said a pretty good introduction as to what it is that I'm going to be talking about in the next few videos. But I want you to pay attention to your weather around you. Is this a typical summer? Does it seem a little more humid? What do the clouds look like? Does it look like they all of a sudden put your state in a water kettle and set to boil? What do the clouds look like? What does the weather feel like? Pay attention to that the next few days, and then I think it'll make much more sense when we talk about our next video. I appreciate you guys so much for dropping in. I can't wait to get into this stuff because as I do, I get more passionate about it and I dig even deeper. But what I already see is incredible, and I encourage you to do the same. Go digging. Beauvais Island. Find out what's going on. Drop me some links. Send me some information. You guys are so good at doing it anyway. I appreciate all the information, though I don't always get back in the emails. I do read them, and I do appreciate them. And you guys send some great work, so I trust 100,000% that you guys will send me great stuff, and we'll get to the bottom of this. God bless. Much love.